back to our channel. Everyone, today is a truly fascinating day to dive deep into the twisted minds of Genoa City. We are so glad you're here with us to unpack the latest, mind-bending drama. Let's just jump right into the madness, shall we? I cannot stop thinking about the sheer, suffocating weight of the silence in the Abbott mansion right now. It is genuinely terrifying to imagine what it must feel like to be Jack Abbott in this exact moment. He has been pacing those grand, historic halls, his mind racing a million miles a minute, desperately trying to figure out where his wife has vanished to. The anxiety must be eating him alive from the inside out. And then, the doorbell rings. You can almost feel the temperature in the room plummet to freezing when Jack opens that heavy wooden door and finds Patty Williams standing on his porch. It is that specific brand of quiet that usually precedes a massive, destructive storm. Jack lets her in, probably because his desperation has overridden his common sense, or perhaps because a dark, sinking feeling in his gut tells him that she knows something. When Patty walks into the Abbott living room, she has this eerie, unsettling calmness about her. It is so deeply disturbing to watch. She acts as if she belongs there, as if she is the lady of the manor returning from a brief stroll. She actually has the audacity to offer Jack a drink in his own home. It is a brilliant, sickening psychological power play. She is trying to establish dominance, trying to disorient him by flipping the script of hospitality. Naturally, Jack refuses. He has no patience for her twisted games, no time for her unsettling pleasantries. He just wants answers. But Patty, she never gives you answers without making you bleed for them first. And then she pulls out her phone. It is such a simple, modern, everyday gesture. But in Patty Williams's hands, that little digital device is a lethal weapon. The agonizing pause before she turns the screen toward him must feel like an eternity for Jack. And there it is. She shows him a photograph that will likely haunt his nightmares for the rest of his life. It is a picture of Diane Jenkins, but she isn't smiling. She isn't fighting back. She is completely unconscious, lying vulnerable on a strange, sterile-looking bed. It genuinely makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. Seeing the woman you love incapacitated, stripped of all her formidable strength, reduced to a helpless pawn in a madwoman's game. It is a level of psychological torture that is hard to even comprehend. You just have to wonder what is going through Jack's mind in that exact, horrifying second. His heart must have completely stopped, the visceral reaction of seeing Diane like that. The sheer panic, the helpless rage, the overwhelming urge to reach through the screen and pull her to safety. He immediately demands to know where she is. His voice must be shaking with a mixture of terror and fury. But Patty just looks at him with those wide, calculating eyes. Her explanation is it is staggering in its absolute delusion. She looks Jack dead in the eye and tells him that she is trying to protect him from the crazy woman he calls his wife. Patty weaves this elaborate, chilling narrative right there in the living room. She tells Jack that Diane has suffered a catastrophic mental breakdown. She uses words that sound so clinical, so final. She claims that Diane's psyche has completely shattered and that she is currently in a clinic, getting the care she desperately needs. It is gaslighting on a masterclass level. Patty is taking the reality of Diane's violent abduction and twisting it into a narrative where Diane is the unstable one, and Patty is the benevolent savior stepping in to manage a tragic situation. The sheer irony of Patty Williams of all people in Genoa City calling another woman crazy is it is infuriating, isn't it? This is a woman with a decades-long history of severe psychiatric instability. A woman who has committed unspeakable acts of violence, projecting her own mental fragility onto Diane. But Patty doesn't stop there. She never does. Once she has Jack reeling from the photo and the fabricated medical crisis, she moves in for the emotional kill. She starts taunting him. She actually mocks Jack, bringing up their past, claiming that he simply couldn't control himself around her. She twists their dark, traumatic history into some twisted romantic fantasy. She tells him that Diane will never come back to him, that Diane is no longer an option. The chilling finality in Patty's voice when she says those words, it is enough to make your blood run cold. She is systematically dismantling Jack's entire world, erasing his wife from the equation, and positioning herself as the only logical replacement. And then she drops the ultimatum, the threat that changes everything. She looks at Jack, her expression likely a mask of feigned innocence masking pure malice, and asks, you wouldn't want anything sudden to happen to Diane, would you? Oh, my goodness. That veiled death threat is what really chills me to the bone. It is not a scream, it is not a physical attack, it is a quiet, deadly promise. Patty is holding Diane's very life in the palm of her unstable hands, and she is squeezing. How does a man even breathe after hearing something like that? Jack is completely paralyzed. If he makes the wrong move, if he calls the police, if he pushes Patty too far, Diane could pay the ultimate price. Jack tries to fight back, of course. He tells her that she cannot blackmail him into a relationship. He tries to appeal to whatever shred of logic or morality might be left inside her. But Patty, she doesn't see this as extortion. She doesn't see herself as a kidnapper or a terrorist. She looks at this horrific, manipulative hostage situation and calls it destiny. She truly believes that the universe has orchestrated this entire nightmare to bring them together. She says it is fate. That is the true sickness of her mind. She has romanticized her own cruelty. She views herself as the tragic heroine of a grand romance, and Jack as her star-crossed lover who just needs a little aggressive persuasion to see the light. It is in this agonizing moment that Jack realizes the horrifying truth. He cannot reason with madness. He cannot fight Patty with logic or threats of his own, because Patty has absolutely nothing to lose, and Jack has everything to lose. He realizes that he is going to have to play her game. Just think about the immense, crushing psychological toll this is going to take on him. Jack Abbott is going to have to fake a romantic relationship with his abuser. He is going to have to smile at the woman who once shot him, the woman who has terrorized his family for decades, the woman who is currently holding his beloved wife hostage. He will have to pretend to care for her, to be seduced by her destiny, all while suppressing a physical revulsion so deep it probably makes him want to be sick. And the isolation, it just shatters my heart for him. Jack is going to have to shoulder this massive, terrifying burden entirely alone. He cannot tell Kyle. Imagine looking your son in the eye, seeing the grief and panic over his missing mother, and having to lie to him. Jack will have to pretend that he is moving on, or at least entertaining Patty's advances, while his son watches in horror and disgust. He cannot tell Tracy, the moral compass of the family, because bringing anyone else into this secret could trigger Patty's paranoia and result in Diane's murder. Jack is trapped in a solitary confinement of the mind, surrounded by his family but unable to reach out to them for help. This requires us to really look back at the historical context of Jack and Patty's relationship to fully understand the gravity of this nightmare. We have to remember the trauma of their past. We have to remember the fake miscarriages, the manipulation, the era when she returned to town with a completely new face as Mary Jane Benson, leaving dead cats and chaos in her wake. Patty has always harbored this deep-rooted, obsessive, fatal attraction to Jack Abbott. For her, Jack is the ultimate prize, the symbol of the perfect life she was denied. And now she believes she has finally found the ultimate leverage to force him to love her. She is using the deepest love of his life, Diane, as a weapon against him. What makes this entire scenario so much worse for us, the viewers, is that we know the absolute, horrifying truth of what is happening off-screen. We know that Diane isn't in some legitimate, sterile psychiatric clinic receiving medical care. We know she is locked inside the private, fortified residence of Dr. Lawrence Markham. We know she is trapped with a perverted, predatory psychiatrist who is actively gaslighting her, drinking her tea to assert dominance, and feeding her devastating lies that Jack actually consented to her captivity. Jack doesn't know the sheer level of psychological torture Diane is enduring right now. He thinks he is buying her time in a medical facility, but he is actually leaving her in the clutches of a monster. The dramatic irony is almost too painful to bear. Every time Jack forces himself to be near Patty, every time he has to listen to her talk about their destiny, he will be doing it to keep Diane breathing. It is the ultimate sacrifice of a husband's dignity for his wife's life. He will have to become a master manipulator himself, gathering tiny shreds of intelligence, searching for any slip of the tongue, any clue that might reveal where Patty has hidden her. He will be walking a razor-thin tightrope over a pit of fire. If Patty senses for even a second that Jack is faking his affection, if she feels that he is playing her, she will snap. And when Patty Williams snaps, people die. It is brilliant writing, but it is so incredibly dark and emotionally taxing. Patty Williams has truly cemented herself as the most dangerous, unpredictable woman on daytime television today. She doesn't operate for money or corporate power like Victor Newman. She operates purely on delusional emotion and obsessive love. That makes her unstoppable and entirely immune to traditional threats. Jack is fighting a war against a ghost who lives in a fantasy world, and the battlefield is his own living room. We are going to be watching every single micro-expression on Jack's face in the coming weeks. How long can a man sustain a lie like this before it breaks him completely? How long can he push his son Kyle away before the Abbott family fractures beyond repair? And what will Diane think when she is sitting in that locked room, being told by Dr. Markham that Jack has abandoned her for Patty, while Jack is actually sacrificing his very soul to save her? The emotional devastation on all sides of this triangle is it is monumental. We are bearing witness to one of the most tragic, high-stakes psychological thrillers Genoa City has ever seen, and honestly, we are terrified to see how this destiny unfolds.